Okay, things are looking good here. Hello everyone, Artemu the Violet Wizard here, and today we are continuing the Pokémon Sapphire Nuzlocke. Last time, we participated in our first and probably only contest that we're going to be entering in this series, and we also managed to earn our third gym badge by beating Watson in Mauville City. Oh boy, that was a very interesting fight to go through, considering the options that we had available to us. And we managed to make our way over to Fallarbor Town, up in the northwestern corner of the Hoenn region. So definitely made quite a number of visits across this journey to a lot of different places, and we're definitely going to see a lot more going forward, because we still have a lot we gotta cover in this adventure. So, depending on how things go with this stream, I don't know if we're going to be able to fight the next gym, depending on how things go, but I do have a pretty sizable end goal in mind for how this is going to play out. So before we move on to the next thing I wanted to show off in this game, I want to show that there's been a slight change into our team since last time. So on the last route we visited, we managed to catch a Sandshrew, and I decided to train him up because I felt like he would be a very useful member of our team. So now we got ourselves Blocky the Sandslash. G'day mates, happy to be here. So Blocky here is going to be quite useful. He's got a plus attack nature, which is definitely going to enable him to do a lot of damage. I gave him the soft sand we picked up around Slateport City, as that will boost the damage of ground-type attacks. And I taught him the Dig TM that we got in the last session, because sadly this guy isn't going to learn a whole lot of ground-type attacks in his level-up moveset, so this is definitely going to be a necessity. And since I had the items for it, I also boosted the power points of Dig, since I had free PP ups that we had acquired previously on this journey, so it's now got a more sizable amount of power points to use this attack, and hopefully you'll be able to do a lot for us as we are moving forward in this adventure. Man, I am really excited for this session, because obviously we have a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing. And while I was training up our team, I also acquired some items that are quite useful to us. So by running around Route 113, you're able to acquire soot, which you're able to collect in order to make into glass flutes. So we're able to acquire a blue flute, which can wake up sleeping Pokemon, a red flute, which can snap Pokemon out of attraction, and a yellow flute, which snaps Pokemon out of confusion. These are definitely some very helpful items for dealing with certain situations that we may come across in battle. Also, the blue flute completely makes awakenings obsolete, so you can go ahead and sell those, since you're not going to need them anymore. In terms of other things you could get from the glassmaker over this way, you're also able to make some glass furniture if you want to decorate a secret base, and you can also acquire a white flute, which is able to increase the encounter rate of wild Pokemon in the wild, and a black flute, which can decrease wild encounters. I don't think either of those items are really going to be necessary to us, so I didn't bother grabbing those. Oh, my Pokemon does is roar! No one dares to come near me. If you would, please take this TM away. So we're able to get TM5 from this man. Roar is an interesting move. It forces the opponent to switch out their Pokemon with another one in their party. And if you're in a wild battle, it will just end the fight immediately by scaring away your opponent. It's not really the most useful move out there, unless you're trying to use, like, entry hazard strategies, like trying to take advantage of attacks like spikes and toxic spikes and whatnot. but we're not really going to be relying on any of that in our journey, so I just don't feel like it's going to be necessary. So let's get into some battles here on this new route we have available to us. Route 114. Starting with this fisherman, he's got himself a Barboach. So this fish is a water ground type, which makes it very weak to grass. And if you are using Marsh Tomp in your playthrough, if you started off with Mudkip, then it would play pretty similar to Marsh Tomp in a few ways. As being a pretty strong and pretty bulky water type that is pretty good on your team, especially because ground eliminates its weakness to electric type moves. So yeah, Barboach could actually be a pretty nice addition to your team. Though we're probably not going to be picking this particular Pokemon up, because there's a lot of other options we can get in this route. You are able to fish for Barboach, but I think you need to wait until you get a better fishing rod before you can. So that's basically what I would say on that. It's a good Pokemon, just pretty redundant if you already started with Mudkip as your starter, but it could still be useful. Of course, just watching Liam take out all these Goldines. Yeah, we did a considerable amount of training in between sessions, just to make sure we're prepared for some of the fights going forward. So, we're probably gonna have a pretty easy time against regular trainers on these routes. Alright, managed to get a level up on Liam over here by beating these fishermen, which is definitely very nice. You can see Liam being quite useful in a few battles coming up, though there is a particular fight coming up that he is not going to be that useful towards, so definitely want to warn anyone who's picking Trico as their starter, because it is not going to be that good in the next gym coming up. And of course, if you pick Mudkip, you'll definitely be able to get some good use in the next gym. Just something I wanted to note with what we are going to be seeing eventually. Ooh, you got Lombre! It's actually a Pokemon we're able to catch on this route, and I would like to get this one just because the utility of having a grass and water-type Pokemon is really nice. Took care of you quite easily. I believe, yep, there's a hidden item here, and it's a revive. We don't need to worry about that. But yeah, over here on this route, there's quite a few Pokemon we can catch in this area that I like to go into. Also able to pick some Persim berries. We saw these before, but Persims are able to heal confusion, which can definitely be very nice if you don't have the yellow flute. Definitely a very useful tool. I'm gathering berries so I can win a Pokemon contest. If you like, I'll share one with you. Plus, this guy gives us a Waper berry. So, in between the stream sessions, I also thought it would be nice to create a couple more Pokeblocks, just so that I could give them as little treats to our Pokemon after clearing certain battles. So I feel like it'd be a nice way to reward our party for everything they've been doing. Oh, Hayden! I'm sorry everything's so cluttered. When I get engrossed in research, things end up this way. This is embarrassing. Please keep this a secret in exchange for this. So we get a Lotad doll by talking to Lynette here. May I offer advice about my Pokemon storage system? You should organize your boxes so you can tell which Pokemon are in them. Yeah, that's something I definitely tend to do in a lot of my Pokemon playthroughs. There's an email from someone on the PC. Your storage system offers more convenience than mine. There's a lot of user-friendly features that make it fun and useful too. Makes me proud that I played a part in its development. Here's hoping you'll continue research in storage systems. From Bill. Yeah, back in the original Red and Blue, Bill was the NPC responsible for creating the Pokemon storage system. And if you're like me and grew up with the Gen 1 and 2 games, yeah, that system was very clunky to operate in terms of Pokemon storage. They created an entirely new character in order to justify the creation of the new storage system. And yeah, I really have a lot of love for Lynette because of that. Just having this character introduced and having them be the in-universe explanation for why the PC system works so much better in the Gen 3 games, it's a very cool detail. I really get a kick out of that. Now, considering what we're going to be seeing here, I think I want to switch Liam out for Blocky in this formation, just because of what we have over here. Well, sure, I'm in the mood for it. I'll teach you a little about Pokemon. So we got ourselves another double battle to be had here. It's Tyra and Ivy. They got a Roselia and a Graveler. Yeah, definitely want to make sure we have Liam to handle this Graveler. So that thing's level, that can be quite dangerous. So Graveler is, of course, the evolution of Geodude, being much stronger in quite a few ways. Definitely need to take that out ASAP, because at that level, it could probably go boom. But yeah, definitely stronger than Geodude, but it has all the same weaknesses, being a rock ground type. So we're easily able to handle that. And then we can just finish off this Roselia. Not much else to do against that thing. What an amazing battle style! Oh, thank you! Definitely like to coordinate my Pokemon's moves and tactics with each other. And considering what else is coming up, might want to switch Blocky. Actually not quite. We'll keep Shari in the lead for now. I do know there's a certain fight coming up that Blocky would be good for. So want to keep that in mind. Alright, so while we're facing this camper here, how about we talk about some of the Pokemon that can be found on this route, because there are a few notable ones. So namely, you're able to run into Nuzleaf here if you're playing Ruby and Omega Ruby. And if you're playing Sapphire and Alpha Sapphire, you can get Ombre in this area, which is definitely quite nice. In terms of the other things you can get around here, there is a normal flying type you can get here called Swablu, which is pretty weak to start off, but eventually becomes a dragon flying type and is actually a really good tank. So that could definitely be useful to your party. Way too strong. Yeah, Shari's definitely quite formidable. And I'm definitely expecting to get a lot more use out of her in the very near future. And also later on. Ooh, seems we're already getting our encounter here. Ah, we actually got Swablu. Is there options? Yeah, this one is alright. What am I thinking in terms of what I want to weaken you? Because this thing is quite low level at this point. I guess we can send Shari out against you. But yeah, this thing is pretty weak at the moment. The main thing this Pokemon is going to be doing is putting opponents to sleep using Sing. And then just debuffing it. Besides that, there's really not much else to do with this Pokemon until it evolves. It could definitely be a good Pokemon, it just requires a lot of work in order to get it evolved. Alright, we got you weak enough, so let's go for the capture. There we go. Quite simple. Swablu, the cotton bird Pokemon. Swablu loves to make things clean. If it spots something dirty, it'll wipe and polish it with its cottony wings. If its wings become dirty, this Pokemon finds a stream and showers itself. So it's definitely a Pokemon that likes to keep itself neat and tidy. So with that in mind, I thought I would name you Swiffer. Sorry, that just came to me, especially because I tend to use Swiffers quite a bit when I am on the job and just when I need to clean something. Well, we can try this out now that we have a sleeping Pokemon. Yep, you can just use your blue flute to wake up a Pokemon, and you can use it as many times as you want. It's quite similar to the Poke Flute from the original Red and Blue, as you could use that to wake up sleeping Pokemon as well. Definitely very nice. Ooh, Carbos. So that is an item that increases a Pokemon's speed. That could be quite nice to give to somebody. Other options. I think giving Fillet some increased speed is really good, since Fillet is just a very strong attacker, so they'll definitely benefit with that particular stat being raised. And we got this guy here, Pokemaniac Steve. And we got ourselves Pokemaniacs, which compared it to the original Red and Blue, these guys are full-on Pokemon cosplayers now, as can be seen by this guy's wardrobe. They tend to use very beastly Pokemon on their teams because of that, such as the case of Aron here. And if you're like me and are a fan of a certain YouTuber, then this particular NPC is definitely one you would know about. My Pokemon! Yep, just easily taken out by Blocky. Big body that's all lumpy and hard, enormous horns and vicious fangs. I wish I had a Pokemon like that. Well, maybe if you took care of your Aron some more, you would end up with a Pokemon like that. But yeah, in terms of what else we could have ran into here, yeah, we could have gotten this thing, Seviper. This is one of the stronger poison types you can run into this game. It's a pretty decent Pokemon, mainly good for dealing physical attacks and trying to poison opponents with moves like Poison Tail. It's definitely a pretty good one, and that Pokemon is exclusive to Pokemon Sapphire and Alpha Sapphire. And you can also get it in Emerald. So in Ruby, you're able to acquire a Pokemon called Zangoose, which is quite the cool Pokemon, I must say. Like, Zangoose is just a very strong physical attacking normal type, and yeah, it's just really good. Just a very solid attacker. I could definitely recommend it if you're playing through Ruby or Omega Ruby. Yeah, sadly he can't get them in Emerald, but hey. It's also quite cool because Zangoose and Seviper are considered rivals in the Pokedex, where their lore is that Zangoose and Seviper will just battle it out whenever their paths cross, and that their fights tend to get very, very fierce. We got quite a few levels on this Wingull. Let's just take you out with Slash. Yeah, very good work, Blocky. Thank you for that, buddy. Also ran into a new trainer type here, which is a Kindler. They tend to use fire and water type Pokemon, which is an interesting combination to have, but it makes sense, as if you're someone who needs to light fires, it's also good being able to have a quick and easy way to extinguish the flames, you know? We got a hiker here, so I want to switch Liam back to the front. These guys tend to have rock types. So yeah, in terms of some other stuff that's been going on, so obviously there's been quite a bit of a break in between the different sessions of our Pokemon streams lately, and that's just because I had a lot of work to do over the weekend. I was working 4 days in a row, which, you know, is pretty fine, all things considered. And I'm actually recording this session on the start of a 2-day break, which, you know, is pretty good. And then after that, I got like 2 more days of work, and then I get yet another 4-day break from work. So I am seriously believing that I managed to gain the grace of some Fey entity, and they're blessing me with a lot of days off from work. Ooh boy. Obviously, this area has a lot of rocks that need to be broken in order to get some of the goodies in here. So, could be nice to have a Pokemon with Rock Smash around in order to get all the goodies. So I'll probably revisit this route with our buddy Mickey in order to break those open and get to anything that we may have missed. Ah, Lenny! So this hiker actually shares the name of a Pokemon I previously used in my Pokemon Emerald Nuzlocke. So definitely very attached to that particular run, and oh boy, Lenny was so good. Like, he was a slack-off, and once he got going and I managed to evolve him, he was one of the best attackers in my party. Especially when I eventually gave him the move Hyper Beam, in which case, oh boy, he was just obliterating everything in his path. So yeah, definitely have a lot of fond memories about that particular Pokemon. Ooh, critical hit. That didn't do too much damage, all things considered. We definitely have a lot of levels on our opponents here, which is definitely going to make some of these battles pretty simple for us. But, you know, I like a good, easy battle in between some of the rougher encounters we've had on this journey. Especially with how things were when we faced Watson. And when we faced May back on Route 110. Oh man, those were some battles. So I don't believe there's anything else around here we need to worry about. If you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, this whole area is lined with craters from meteor impacts. And usually by examining those craters, you can find some really good items that you can sell for a lot of money. So yeah, that's what I definitely recommend about this. And oh man, so we got ourselves a new cave we can explore here. Meteor Falls. This area has a completely different color palette in Ruby and Sapphire compared to how it is in Emerald. So yeah, I feel a little flashbanged getting to see it all yellow and everything. Whatever, let's just move forward.
With this meteorite Mount Chimney, Will. Huh? I don't know who you are, but if you get in the way of Team Aqua, don't expect any mercy.
Hold it right there, Team Aqua. We, Team Magma, won't allow you to get away with your misdeeds.
Huh, even Team Magma joins us, but it's too much trouble to deal with you all. Huh, it doesn't matter. We've got the meteorite, so off to Mount Chimney we go. Be seeing you, you Team Magma dingbats.
And you are? Fine, so you are hated. I am Maxie. As the head of Team Magma, I've dedicated myself to thwarting the dangerous plans of Team Aqua. Why? Because Team Aqua is a grave threat to us all. They have committed many destructive acts in their bid to enlarge the sea. We, Team Magma, love dry land above all. Team Aqua is our sworn enemy.
Maxie, we should give chase to Team Aqua.
Yes, we must. We've got to hurry. There's no telling what Team Aqua will do on Mount Chimney. Hayden, you should keep an eye out for Team Aqua too. Farewell.
So if you're playing Omega Ruby or the original Ruby, this event would be reversed. Where instead of meeting Team Magma for the first time, you would be meeting Team Aqua here. So yeah, depending on the different versions of the game you're playing, that dictates the antagonist that you're going to be facing. In Ruby and Omega Ruby, you'll be facing Team Magma as your villains. Whereas in Sapphire and Alpha Sapphire, you face Team Aqua. And then, of course, in Emerald, both teams serve as antagonists in certain parts of the story. Which, you know, pretty cool. I'm Cosmo. I'm a professor. I usually study meteorites in Fallarbor Town. Then some people from Team Aqua maybe guide them to meteor falls. They promised me they would excavate meteorites for me. But Team Aqua tricked me. Oh, that meteorite, it'll never be mine now. But that Team Aqua, what are they gonna do with that meteorite at Mount Chimney? We'll have to figure out very soon once we head up to Mount Chimney. So, Meteor Falls. I could actually recommend trying to save your encounter in this place for much later on in the adventure. However, we're not getting that liberty here because we are already getting our main encounter for this area. Who do we want for this? Let's go to Fillet. I feel like they'd be good for weakening this thing. So normally, the most common Pokemon you'd be able to find here would be Zubat. However, we were lucky enough to actually get the rare encounter in this place. So if you're playing Ruby or Omega Ruby, you can encounter Solrock, and you can also find them in Pokemon Emerald. Whereas if you're playing Sapphire and Alpha Sapphire, you run into this Pokemon, Lunatone. Solrock and Lunatone are both rock psychic type Pokemon, and they got a few interesting strengths and weaknesses among them. They're mainly defensive Pokemon, but they do excel in a particular offensive stat depending on which Pokemon it is, with Solrock being more physical and Lunatone being more special. They're interesting Pokemon. Never really focused too much on using one in my main teams all that much, but they can be quite helpful because they can learn quite a few useful TMs. Like in the case of Solrock, it can learn fire moves like Flamethrower, it can get grass moves like Solar Beam, and Lunatone is able to learn ice attacks, which is obviously a very nice thing to it. I really wish we had a way to inflict a status on this thing, because that could help lower its catch rate a bit, but nope, we're able to get it with an Ultra Ball. That's why we have these things, because they're so good. Alright, so we actually managed to get a Lunatone. That is quite the cool Pokemon to get here. Lunatone, the Meteorite Pokemon. Lunatone becomes active around the time of the full moon. Instead of walking, it moves by floating in midair. The Pokemon's intimidating red eyes cause all those who see it to become transfixed with fear. Aw man, that's just making me... just reminding me about the Blood Moon Ursaluna that you can encounter in the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC. Just having a Pokemon associated with the moon, and it's got this blood red marking on its forehead. That's just such a cool design. I love that Pokemon. Yep, we got ourselves a Lunatone here. There's definitely quite a few different names we could give to you, especially with the lunar theming that you tend to see in a lot of media. Yep, you know what? We're gonna call you Usagi, which is the name of Sailor Moon. Feel like that'd be pretty fitting for you. Aw, man. Managed to get some pretty nice Pokemon here in this area, especially rare ones. Quite nice to see. Yeah, another thing with the different versions of these games, if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, there's actually a boss fight you would have here where you and your rival, Brendan or May, you would team up to fight against Team Magma or Team Aqua in here. And it's quite the nice little set piece getting to fight alongside your rival. I definitely feel that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire do a lot more with the rival characters. Whereas in this game, they don't really pop up all that often. So they definitely amp up the connection you have with those characters in the remakes, which I'm all for. If you haven't played Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I do recommend them for a number of the quality of life improvements they have over the Gen 3 games. And also just in general, they're just pretty fun games to go through. Especially with the different changes they have to a lot of the characters and their arcs. But yeah, we currently know where Team Aqua is headed, and we'll definitely want to head over there pretty soon. But for now, I want to head over this way to the exit of Meteor Falls, taking us over to Route 115. It's an area we actually briefly visited before in our journey, but we didn't really stick around here that much, as there wasn't much we could do around here. But yeah, we definitely want to look around, because there's quite a few things we can discover. Oh, there's a heart scale there, but our inventory is currently full. What can we potentially get rid of? You know what, we don't need revives in this run, so we'll get rid of that. Also, in the cave, we picked up a moonstone, so that is an evolution item, and it's only really useful for 2 Pokemon that we can encounter in the main story, and neither which would be particularly useful to us, so yeah, I really don't see much use to using this particular item here in this game. We got some more trainers that we're actually able to fight here. Namely, we got some fighting type users, so it's a good opportunity to get Gladys some more experience. I quite like the drawing I did for Gladys for the last stream's thumbnail. It's definitely very nice getting to work with Swellow's design like that and emphasize the beauty that Gladys tends to exhibit. It's definitely a quite nice bit of art I got to do with that. So there is more we'll eventually get to see of this area later, but we're not going to worry about that for the time being. Ah, there's yet another rock over here. You know what? We'll probably go back to Fallarbor and grab Mickey just so we can get all these items that we've been missing. Because that could be very useful to us. Black Belt Knob. I love this running a theme throughout the Pokemon series that you're always guaranteed to encounter a black belt named Knob for whatever reason. Just a very funny name.
Oh, my head is busted!
Sorry, buddy. At the very least, we had a nice battle against you, and then we have this fellow. I feel like we probably want to lead with Titania against this guy. I have a rare Pokemon. Would you like me to show you? Yep, I'd definitely be down for that, sir. Yeah, we got a collector. And he's got a Zangoose. So yeah, this is the guy I was talking about before. This is a really good Pokemon if you're playing Ruby and Omega Ruby. Definitely, I highly recommend using this on your team. It is such a good attacker. But yep, I'm going with Titania against this guy because as a rock steel type, she pretty much resists everything the Zangoose can do to her. Dang, and got a critical hit too to finish it off. Not bad, Titania. You want my Pokemon, don't you? It's actually kind of funny. The first time I was playing the Generation 3 games, I thought that Zangoose was actually the evolution of Linoon. Because, you know, they have kind of similar sounding names, you know? Yeah, they're just kind of felt like what would be the natural progression between these different Pokemon. And wouldn't you know it, we would eventually get an evolution for Linoon over in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Specifically, it's an evolution to the regional variant of Zigzagoon that can be found in that particular game, but it's a pretty cool new addition to the Pokedex. And to this day, yeah, for whatever reason, I haven't actually used that particular Pokemon on any of my main teams, despite how often I have played through Pokemon Sword and Shield. I definitely feel those are some very underappreciated games in this current day and age. They're good. You definitely see why a number of people tend to decry them, but, you know, that's not my personal opinion, you know? Wow, ran into 2 of these moons in a row. That is something. So, while we're heading back to Fallarbor Town, what is some other things that we can talk about? So I did mention that we were on a break from work today. So actually, earlier today, I went downtown for lunch and I grabbed some ramen at the Japanese shop that I like to visit. And just like every other time I go there, it was so flippin' good. So I always get the pork ramen in the tonkotsu broth, and it's just so delicious every time I order it. One of my favorite things to get when I'm downtown. It's so good. So yeah, definitely happy about that. And other things that have been happening lately. So very recently, like only a few hours ago today, there was something that got uploaded to YouTube I was quite excited to see. So for anyone that's familiar with the series Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series by Little Karibo, yep, he finally uploaded a new video of that series, and it was quite good. Definitely had a nice focus on both Yugi and Rebecca having to deal with their respective duels. Quite a few things that I definitely enjoyed, especially the resolution to Yugi's battle against the woman he was fighting against, because, oh boy, the way that that ended was so flippin' funny. Yeah, definitely very nice to see that series is still continuing. Alright, managed to deal with pretty much everything we need to do around here, besides grabbing a couple extra items. So let's look at our new catchers, Swiffer and Usagi. So Swiffer is quirky, and you got Natural Cure, which is quite nice. That will restore status ailments when you are switched out of battle. So yeah, definitely more of a defensive Pokemon. Quirky is a neutral nature, so you're not going to see a whole lot of growth in your stats compared to others. And then Usagi is also serious. Also to highlight here, Lunatone and Solrock both get Levitate as abilities, so they're completely immune to ground-type attacks. That could be seen as pretty useful to you in your runs. Though, sadly, there aren't any ground-type specialists in this region to really capitalize on that. But yeah, you can see from these stats that Lunatone is a lot more special-oriented as compared to Solrock, which is more physical. Definitely have some interesting utility. Like, it's nice that we finally have a Psychic type that we can use on this team. So you could potentially be useful, but I don't know. I really have no plans on using Lunatone anytime soon. It's definitely a cool Pokemon, though. Alright, so I said we need to bring Mickey back into the team, so let's do this. Liam, you're quite high level at this point, so you can take a bit of a break.
I see you're in need of my services again. As you know, I will have to charge a substantial fee for any destruction I may need to cause.
Yes, Mickey, I get it. Also, while we actually have you here, I did wanted to thank you for helping us get through that battle against Watson earlier, and I happen to have just the treat for you.
Ah, really? What do we got here, then?
Alright, so you have a plus defense nature, so something that is sour tasting would be good for you. So we'll give you this Pokeblock here, buddy.
Alright, let's see how this is. Exquisite texture and flavor. Oh, you, my good sir, are quite the efficient Pokeblock maker. Alright, for the rest of the day, my services will be on the house.
Ooh, good to hear. Oh boy, I'm quite happy about that. Actually, before we leave, we need to store some items that we picked up, as we are not going to need our Moonstone anytime soon. We have like one chance in order to catch a Pokemon that can evolve with this thing, and it's probably not going to happen. So we're just going to put that away, and we'll store a heart scale for now, because that could be quite useful to us later. Do I need the Super Repel? We don't really need to worry about repelling Pokemon for the time being. But yeah, just wanted to bring Mickey back onto the team and give him his reward for helping us out in the last gym battle. Because, yeah, he really performed super well in that fight, especially from having Mud Sport and being able to lower electric-type damage. Really goes to show that even some of the more underpowered Pokemon in a Nuzlocke run can have very excellent utility in certain fights. So yeah, definitely don't underestimate a Pokemon when you're doing a challenge run, because they can surprise you with the amount of utility they can have. Definitely very anxious to get Titania leveled up more. So you may have noticed that she's been completely unevolved for quite a few levels. Yeah, we are most likely not going to see an evolution from her in quite a bit. So maybe like 1 or 2 more sessions until we finally get to see that. So we're going to give this Protein to Blocky. So I definitely want to raise up his attack, as he's going to be very useful in some of the fights coming up. Don't need to worry about smashing those rocks, and don't need to worry about that one. And don't need to worry about this. So we pretty much just gotta make our way back to Route 115 in order to take care of the last thing we need with Mickey. And then we'll want to head back up to Mount Chimney, as that's gonna be the site of a pretty important fight for us here in this leg of our journey. So yeah, we definitely seen quite a bit of Team Aqua pretty early on with what they were doing around Rustboro and Slateport City. But here is where things are going to get really, really interesting, as we don't quite know what they are doing with that meteorite that they took from Professor Cosmo, but it obviously can't lead to anything good, so it's going to have to do our best in order to counter their nefarious plans. Now sure, we can give Mickey a chance to do some battles here. Not too concerned with leveling him up too much, especially because I don't have to worry about leveling him up to get rare items. But, you know, just still having him around is quite useful. Alright, we get a Great Ball over here, and we can also grab some Blockberries. So those, I believe, are just useful for making Pokeblocks. With the way the sprite looked on the tree, I thought maybe these would be cherry berries, but I was mistaken. Alright, so that's pretty much it we need to do there. And if we hop down this ledge, it gives us a one-way path back to Rustboro City. So that's quite nice. Let's heal up at the center, and then we should be good. So we're still gonna need Mickey in order to access things with Rock Smash. However, I want to think about some of the other things we're gonna be doing, because we're not really gonna have too much of access to our PC in a bit. So yeah, Liam would actually be pretty good in some of the fights coming up. I don't actually believe that we're gonna need Blocky in a bit, so we'll put you away. Yeah, with our other options, we should be pretty good. Alright, let's put Liam in the lead, and that should do it. We still got a lot of other backup here, especially some Pokemon that could be useful in a bit, but for now, we're gonna roll with this team. It's definitely nice we're at a point where we can rotate out a good number of our team members, just depending on the current situation that we're in. So for this leg of our adventure, since we're going up against Team Aqua, I would highly recommend having Pokemon that are able to do electric and grass damage going forward. Also quite nice to have something that can counter dark types and also flying types. So if you have a fighting type as well as a rock type, those can be quite useful. Oh, I don't recall you being here. Ah, it's you! You're the person who not only helped me in Petalburg Woods, but also got back my stolen package, then even graciously delivered it to Slateport. Captain Stern informed us the package arrived too. I thank you very, very much. Why, if I were Raincloud, I would shower you with gratitude and hail you as a hero. For you, the most wonderful trainer, I bear good news. Recently, our company developed a new kind of Pokeball. As a token of our appreciation, this is our gift to our wonderful trainer. So we get a repeat ball here. Our new Pokeball will be available at the Pokémon Mart in Rustboro. Please do try it out. Thank you and bye-bye. So now we're able to buy repeat balls. These are Pokeballs that are mainly useful for catching a Pokemon that you have already obtained in your adventure. So, given that this is a Nuzlocke run, we are not going to be really relying on this one. Since it is purely for catching Pokemon that you have already obtained, it's really not going to be that useful to us. I would use our Repel here, but this cave is actually pretty short, so I don't think we need to worry too much about that. Yep, that went pretty quickly. Alright, so on our way to Mount Chimney, what's some other stuff that we could discuss? So, pretty recently, I have been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, as I wanted to grab that game for quite a number of years, and been making some pretty good progress with it lately. So, just recently, I managed to acquire... Oh wow, there's an item here that I completely forgot to grab. Mickey, will you do the honors? So, pretty recently, I managed to get through the fight where... Oh wow, Surskit. It's actually a pretty rare encounter, so quite shocked to see it here today. But yeah, in Final Fantasy VII Remake, I managed to get past the fight with the Air Buster, which is like the big boss at the end of the reactor that you go through after a sizable portion of the game. Which, if you played the original Final Fantasy VII, the fight actually comes up pretty quickly after the first event with the first reactor. But obviously, they put a lot of more content into the game in the remake, so it's definitely a lot more we had to do before finally being able to take on that particular fight. And yeah, just the build-up to a lot of the things with the Air Buster was quite cool. how you got, like, Heidegger of Shinra hyping this thing up as their ultimate weapon in order to take you guys down. And the whole sequence where you're running through the facility and trying to sabotage the upgrades being given to the Air Buster in order to provide you with an easier chance against the fight. That was a cool sequence. I quite like that. Let's grab a few more potions before we go. So for current money, we can actually buy a TM from the Game Corner, since we have enough money to buy coins for that. But we'll probably save that for later. I really don't see us needing to buy any TMs in a bit. Alright, so this part's gonna be a bit interesting because of this. So yeah, if you break rocks on this route, you can actually run into Geodude. I actually wanted to avoid this because this route does have another area where we can encounter wild Pokemon. But I guess this is our catch for Route 111 here. Geodude. Yeah, this guy really isn't too bad, being a rock ground type. It's certainly a good Pokemon. You know what, we're really not going to need this for anything. Let's just use a Repeat Ball on you. It's definitely a good Pokemon, but especially in this game, in the later stages of this game, it gets a bit tricky to recommend using Geodude, as its typing makes the last quarter of the game very unfortunate for this particular Pokemon. So I don't really recommend it too much. You can definitely use it in the middle chunk of the game, but after a while, it starts to fall off and isn't quite that helpful. Alright, so we got ourselves a Geodude. So we are gonna call you Granite. I feel like it's an appropriate name for a very sturdy Pokemon. But, man, having that be our encounter for Route 111 is a little sad, because we have a whole section of this area that we still have yet to explore. And there are some quite good Pokemon we could have gotten in this area had we not gotten that Geodude encounter. Blech. Oh, whatever. So now that we've had the encounter with Team Aqua at Meteor Falls, the Aqua grunts that were guarding the lift to the gondola are now gone. Which is quite good for us. The cable car's ready to go up. Would you like to be on it? Yes, please. Please step this way. And we got a nice little scene of us riding the gondola up the volcano. Hopefully this thing doesn't freeze midway through and we have to imagine a feather in order to deal with a panic attack. Sorry, it's been a while since I played Celeste and I really want to get back into that game. Maybe sometime soon. If they expand the sea, there'll be less habitats for Pokemon and people! Yeah, hose them down! So we got ourselves a bit of a battle between a Team Aqua and Team Magma here. Go! Stop Team Magma and expand the sea! Oh, Hoenn, please, you must stop Team Aqua for me. They're trying to make this volcano inactive by using the stolen meteorite's power. Ooh, that can be quite nasty. That annoying Team Magma, they always mess with our plans. Stay out of the way, okay? We're trying to enlarge the sea for the good of everybody. Team Aqua wants to expand the sea. How's that for insane? Darn, Team Aqua outnumbers us. We can't keep up with them. Yeah, hose them down. Quite interesting to see these different teams clash here. We got ourselves a few fights before we are ready to take on the big guy. What we didn't want to do here? Yeah, I guess we could have Mickey lead this fight. It's really not too much else I need to worry about here. We got a pretty solid team, so we should be able to handle everything up this volcano. We of Team Aqua are working hard for everyone's sake. Like if there's more water around, water Pokemon will be happy. It'll give people more fun places to swim. dude, our planet is like 70% covered in water. This plan is stupid. Yeah, I kind of want to mention this here. So Team Aqua and Team Magma are basically environmental extremists, and especially compared to Team Rocket, where like this very shady undercover mafia-like group. Yeah, these guys kind of aren't really all there when it comes to like sauce and like villain appeal, you know? I mean, in a way, they do have, like, good intentions with what they want to do of helping the environment and helping people and Pokemon, but yeah, it's really not the best when it comes to building a villain team, you know?
So, you come all the way here? You're too late. I've already delivered the meteorite from Meteor Falls to the boss.
So here we got ourselves our first example of an Aqua admin, specifically Matt. So this guy, if you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, in those games there's a bit of a design change with the Team Magma and Aqua members. And especially in the case with Team Aqua, as all of the members of that group have noticeably darker skin compared to how they have in this game, where they're more white. And I'm not gonna be the kind of person to talk about like different changes too much between different games. But I will say I do like the designs in the remake, and especially with the designs of the admins, because, oh man, Shelly, when we eventually get to her, she's got a really great design. But, you know, I like Matt's design in the remake, too. He's definitely a lot more muscular looking. He just has a really impressive design to him. It can actually look pretty darn intimidating.
You might have beaten me. You don't stand a chance against the boss. You get lost now, you won't have to face a sound whipping.
Yeah, I don't really like Matt's design in this game compared to the remake. I just feel like there's a bit of a loss in the... I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I just don't really gel with his design in the remake here. Alright, before we go forward, there is something that I've been meaning to do for quite a while. And that is, I want to teach Rock Tomb to our girl Titania. Feel like having a solid rock stab move on her would be quite nice. And we'll get rid of Mud Slap. I don't see much use in having that in her moveset. At least at this stage of the game, you know. So, yep, I am quite happy with this little change here. That should be quite useful based on what we're going to be seeing here in a bit. Alright, Gladys, you're going to take the lead of this fight. Let's do this.
The power contained in the meteorite. By amplifying its power with this machine, Mount Chimney's volcanic activity will stop. Eventually, the cool-down crater will fill with rainwater, giving water Pokemon a place to live. You again? Now listen. All life depends on the sea. The sea is everything. Its importance is paramount. That's why we at Team Aqua are committed to expanding the sea. Doing so will result in the emergence of new Pokemon species. We'll return the world back to nature for the good of Pokemon. That is Team Aqua's vision. I can't allow an ignorant child like you to get in our way. I, Archie, will show you the consequences of meddling.
At last, it's time to face the boss of Team Aqua, Archie. Definitely looks like a cross between a pirate and a mob boss here, wouldn't you say? He's leading with a mighty Anna. This thing can be quite fierce. It will, of course, intimidate your lead Pokemon. So we're going to lead with a double team here. This will increase Gladys's evasiveness, making her harder to hit, which can be quite good to us. And Mightyena going to lead with Sand Attack, which is quite nasty. It's going to go for Secret Power and see what this does. Ooh! So that's able to confuse Pokemon up here on the mountain. Quite nice. Ah, really? You got your accuracy down and you're confused, and that still hit me. Come on, can we get some more confusion here? Oh, come on! It makes me wish Gladys had a certain other attack in her moveset, but that's not gonna come until a while later. Seriously, you... Whoa, that was a big hit! Yeah, we're probably gonna need to switch out Gladys here, given that much damage. Ugh, such a ruffian! Alright, let's go to... Let's switch to Titania. I think she should be able to resist most of what this Mightyena can do. Yeah, it's a shame the double team strategy didn't work out, but we should be fine here. So Iron Defense is going to be helpful because this Mightyena's bite does special damage. So let's just go for Metal Claw. Wow, really? Another crit? Come on, we don't want that. Get this thing. Really? Alright, Archie is probably going to heal up, so let's heal up Titania here. Just down a Super Potion, girl. Yep, he's going to be using his own Super Potion here. Yeah, Metal Claw's more accurate than Rock Tomb, so let's just keep going with this. We resist everything this Mightyena can do, so we'll just keep Titania in against this. No, not the Sand Attack. I don't want to see that right now. One more hit should do it. Of course, Bite can also make Pokemon flinch, so we have to deal with this here, too. Yeah, let's use another potion on Titania. Depending on how things go, we might need to switch to someone else to finish off the Mightyena, but want to see if Titania can do this. Oop, another critical hit. And another flinch. Okay, we need to take this thing out ASAP. Let's switch over to Mickey. He should be able to outspeed this Mightyena, and it should be able to finish it. Alright, go for the headbutt, buddy. Alright. That seals the deal. Alright, very good. Next up is Golbat, the evolution of the Zubat family. Against you, let's lead with a Tail Whip in order to weaken your defenses. Because what I want to do after this is I want to switch Mickey out for Titania. She should be able to wall anything this Golbat can do to her, so we should be able to weather its attacks. This Golbat can be quite nasty. It is a very fast Pokemon by this stage of the game. It also has access to Confuse Ray, which can definitely be bad for you to deal with. Luckily, we shouldn't have to worry too much about this thing. Oh, it also has Supersonic, whatever. Alright, Titania, time to bury this bat. Wow, really? Alright, should be able to finish you off with one more move. Let's go for Takedown, because that's more accurate. And you're going to be healing up. Alright. Bam! Alright, that did quite good. One more hit should finish you off. Let's just go for another takedown. Bam! Very good. You are weak, and I am strong. That's all there is to it. And now, Archie's final Pokemon, Sharpedo. This thing is a beast. It is very fast and has very high offensive stats. So we're going to be leading with Fillet against this thing in order to intimidate it and lower the amount of damage this thing can do. Sharpedo is the evolution of Arvanha, and as a water dark type, it can be quite formidable, especially with that crunch it can do. But we actually got a critical hit and took it out. Whew! That was quite the fierce battle. And of course, you have to worry about rough skin and doing damage to you, but we were able to do it. Archie is done.
What? Archie was caught off guard?
Take that.
Ah, whatever. I'll give up our plans for Mount Chimney for the time being. But no one can ever stop us. Team Aqua will prevail. Don't you ever forget that.
Hayden, thank you. With your help, we thwarted Team Aqua's destructive plan. But this victory doesn't mean the end of their evil plans. We will remain vigilant and keep up our pursuit of Team Aqua. Hayden, we shall meet again.
It's not the last we're going to be seeing of Archie or Maxie. So we examine the machine here. A meteorite's fitted on a mysterious machine. Do you want to remove the meteorite? Sure. And we have obtained the meteorite. If you're playing Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, this meteorite here plays a very, very big role in that particular game's story. But here, it's gonna be useful for something we'll eventually get to see. Yeah, that does it for the stuff we can do here on Mount Chimney. Now, there are some other things that we'll be doing that are going to be quite useful to us. So, how about we go take this meteorite to its rightful owner? Let's ride the cable car down and see what we're able to do. Alright, so while we're going back to Fallarbor Town, as that's going to be our destination we have to go to, what's some other stuff that we can talk about? I guess pretty recently, something that came up that I was quite excited to actually mention here. So I follow a channel called The Odd Ones Out, and pretty recently he posted a video where he was diving into a series called Warriors, and it's a book series about cats and the various adventures that they go on, just trying to live in a forest and dealing with rival cat gangs. And been quite interesting hearing a bit about this series from the video that The Odd Ones Out put out. Obviously, I have heard about this particular book series for quite a number of years. I never read any of the books myself, because when I was younger, I was invested in reading in the Bionicle novels. So, like, that was my fixation when I was a kid. But yeah, I just wasn't interested in reading the books about cats fighting in the forest. But you know, that series has a very dedicated fan base, as I have learned over the years, and it's definitely quite interesting getting to hear an outsider's perspective as they were starting to dive into the series and read a bunch of the books in order to understand why the series took off with so many people. And from what I hear, this book series is actually going strong to this day. So, you know, it's definitely nice to hear that Warrior fans are going to be eating good for a number of years. Yeah, definitely an interesting series. One that I have no intention of getting into myself, but, you know, it's nice to hear other people talk about it and get to see, like, all the fan animations that are posted online, you know? And in terms of other stuff that was posted recently, so there's a channel I follow called Lucagen, and very recently she put out the last video of her Pokemon White 2 Let's Play she's been doing for quite a number of months, which is very nice to see. It's definitely been very nice getting to follow along her adventure and getting attached to the team that she has been building throughout this journey. And also getting to see her use some Pokemon that I quite like myself that I feel go underappreciated, like Azumarill and Swoobat. So it's definitely quite nice to get to see her finally take down the champion of that particular game. Actually, it made me want to revisit White 2 sometime in the future, as that is a game I have quite a lot of love for, and I do know I'll eventually play those games on this channel at some point in the future. Just, I'm not going to be worrying about that anytime soon, because I still have to eventually upload my VODs from when I streamed Pokemon Black over on my Twitch channel, which should be happening sometime after we are wrapping up with Sapphire, as I don't want to upload any other videos to, like, that might, like, distract people, or just, you know, feel a bit overwhelming to have so many different Pokemon videos coming out on this channel, you know? But anyway, we managed to help out the professor here, because now we got the meteorite back. Oh, I never should have let myself be conned into telling Team Aqua where you can find meteorites. That meteorite from Meteor Falls, it's never gonna be mine now. Oh, that item! Could it be? Is it the meteorite that Team Aqua took from Meteor Falls? Please, may I have it? I'm not asking for it for free. How about in exchange for this TM? Sure, this TM, it represents my feelings of gratitude. Please use it. We get TM 27 by giving the meteorite back to Cosmo. Oh, I can't believe it! This is really, really great! This is really gonna help my research! Look at Professor Cosmo, he's so happy. I think it's cute. It's a very nice thing to hear from the professor's wife here. But yeah, this new move that we obtained by helping out Cosmo here. This is a good one. Return. This is a normal type move whose damage is based on the friendship rating of the Pokemon using it. So if you've been journeying around with a Pokemon for a good amount of time and you've given it a lot of vitamins and stuff, this is a very good move to give to it. Especially if you have a normal type Pokemon, which I have a considerable number of, so that could be worth to teach to a few of our teammates. Sadly, we don't have a good means of being able to get more of this particular move, so yeah, we're not going to worry too much about this in a bit. So, now we've taken care of that, there is one last thing I really want to do before we close off this session, and that is we are going to be heading back up Mount Chimney as it is necessary in order to make more progress in the story. So yeah, so we needed to go to the base of Mount Chimney. We saw that the cable car for the gondola was blocked off by Team Aqua. We eventually made our way around the volcano over to Meteor Falls in order to meet up with some Team Aqua grunts that were retrieving a meteorite. Then we had to we had to make our way back to the gondola in order to ride it up the volcano now that the path was open. Ooh, this guy! So I encountered this Pokemon so much when we were grinding on this route. This is the rare encounter you can find on Route 113, Skarmory. It's a very rare Pokemon to get to show up, but if you're able to catch it, it's an amazing teammate. Skarmory has so much defense and is a surprisingly fast Steel and Flying type Pokemon. It is definitely a Pokemon I can recommend. It is so damn useful. God. Yeah, I am very thankful I did run into Spinda as my first encounter in this area, because honestly, it is a waste of an encounter in this area. If you end up with a Spinda, don't use it. It is just so not worth it. Like, the only thing I can really see it being useful for is that it naturally gets the move Teeter Dance, which is a pretty good confusion move. But yeah, it's really not worth it. I do not recommend Spinda. But if you get Skarmory, though, that's such a good Pokemon. Also, like in the newer games, that in Legend ZA, Skarmory was one of the Pokemon that got a new Mega Evolution, and it's quite cool getting to see it getting some love after all these years. God, it's a Pokemon I cannot stop gushing about. It is just so good.
Hey there, Grimer.
But yeah, like I was saying before, we needed to go to the base of Mount Chimney, find Team Aqua blocking the gondola, go all the way around the volcano to Meteor Falls in order to meet up with Team Aqua there and see them steal the meteorite. Then we had to go back to the gondola now that it is open and ride that up to the top of the volcano just to be able to get to face Team Aqua at the top, and only then do we have access to the route in order to take us to our next gym battle. They really make you do so much in this part of the game just to be able to face another gym. Which, you know, I'm all for just having a very long and winding section of the story just so we can engage in battles and get some good experience and grab some new teammates along the way. But man, it's quite exhausting doing all of that. But yeah, there's not much else we need to worry about on the summit of the volcano. So now, how about we head down this path? Welcome to Jagged Pass. This is the route leading down the volcano to where we need to go next on our journey. And there are some Pokemon that we can naturally run into here. Namely, we can finally get Numel, which I am definitely excited for. Let's switch over to Fillet. Should be able to weaken this thing with a Dragon Rage, since that does a set 40 damage. So that will be pretty good for weakening this thing. So Numel here, as I said before, is a Fire Ground type, and quite the good Pokemon. It may start to struggle a bit later on in the game, as its weakness to water is going to become very apparent in the last quarter of the game. But, you know, it's still a very solid Pokemon. It's a good attacker, it's got decent bulk. It actually has access to some really good moves in its level up moveset, so it can definitely be a very handy teammate for us. Numel, the Numb Pokemon. Numel stores magma almost to 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit within its body. If it gets wet, the magma cools and hardens. In that event, the Pokemon's body grows heavy and its movements become sluggish. Aw, poor thing. Luckily, you don't have to worry about the rain around here because this area is just covered in ash, and you won't see it raining. So potential names we could name you. I thought we could name you, I believe I am spelling this right. We'll name you Igneous, which is the name of volcanic rocks, or rocks formed from lava hardening. So all along this route, you will see these rocks over by the cliffs. These actually open up a path to us that we can use in order to go up and down the volcano at our leisure. And the key to that is the Acro Bike that you're able to acquire from Rydell. So with this bike, it moves slower than the Mach Bike. However, you're able to do tricks with it. You're able to do little hops to the side. Then you can also pop a wheelie. And then you can do bunny hops. And using this, you can actually go up the boulders along the sides of the path, thus opening up new ways for you to explore this area. It can be quite nice for being able to move up and down the Jagged Pass and try to acquire all the goodies in this area. It is certainly a very nice tool in this area, which is why I want to pick it up in between sessions. Yeah, definitely going to see a lot of the different utility of having the different bikes. Where the Mach Bike is very fast, it enables you to go up sandy slopes. Whereas the Acro Bike is able to allow you to bunny hop up this trail. And there's also some other things we'll eventually get to see that the Acro Bike is able to do. But that won't be until a little bit later in our adventure. But for now, let's just handle the rest of these trainers around here. Ooh, you got a Swablu! I actually got that Pokemon pretty recently, so, you know, nice to see that member of your team. Sadly, Secret Power's type does not change with the environment. That'd be a neat little detail with it if it did, but, you know, it's not a deal breaker. Did you know, some people cleverly ride their bicycles up this horribly bumpy pass? Yeah, that is your hint that you can use the Acro Bike in this area to navigate it. This area is also pretty significant if you're playing Emerald version, as there is an entirely new area you have access to in this area. However, if you're playing Ruby, Sapphire, and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you do not have access to that spot. It is exclusively an Emerald area. Got a hiker here, so I'm thinking... So let's switch Liam in the front for you. Now, there are some more Pokemon that can be found in this area, as I believe this is an area we can also find a Machop, but we don't need to worry about that since we already have Machop. However, there's another Pokemon that you can get exclusively on Jagged Pass, and that is the Pokemon Spoink. Spoink is a Psychic-type Pokemon, and sadly, Psychic really isn't that useful of a type in the Gen 3 games, as opposed to in Generation 1 and 2, since those games had so many Poison types that you encounter throughout the adventure. So Psychic sadly isn't that great in Hoenn, but you know, it's still a good Pokemon. Spoink is definitely more on the special defensive side, but it's still a pretty good attacker. You just have to... what am I trying to say here? It's just in this game that Spoink doesn't have access to a lot of the moves it would get in the later games that would definitely increase its usefulness. As it does have a decent move pool in this game, but it's not as good as it could be, you know? You do have to kind of baby it a bit, and it doesn't exactly have the most diverse moveset that you can have in this particular game. But, you know, it's still a decent Pokemon. Not one I highly recommend using, but, you know, it's still fun in its own ways. And if you're like me and are familiar with the Salty DK Dan Friendlock videos, I cannot look at Spoink the same way ever again, because all I see is just Borat. But that's about what I want to mention about that Pokemon. It was all over while we were still trying to find a good footing. Yeah, nice try, kid. So that should be the last trainers we can find here on Jagged Pass. Now, there are some other trainers we'll eventually get to see around here, but we're gonna hold off on that until much later, as they're not gonna show up until a bit later in our adventure. So I don't believe this guy is a trainer. Yeah, I'd like to go to Mauville, but if we're down these ledges, it'd be no easy matter to get back to Lava Ridge. Yeah, it's especially bad because I can see an item over there. Yeah, we'll save that for later. But for now, welcome to Lava Ridge Town, the next stop on our Hoenn journey. Buy a couple more balls now that we have plenty of money from our recent endeavors. So in this area, I would recommend picking up Burn Heals. Those will be very nice here. Also, you can get X Speed, though I don't really see those being too useful in this area in particular. We got ourselves a lot of things that we're going to want to see around here. Namely, I want to go into our PC, and I do want to deposit one of our Pokemon, as this will be imperative for something that we're going to be doing in just a second. So you go over here by the sand.
Being buried in this hot sand is, so warm and heavenly.
Ouch! A Pokemon nipped my backside! Aw. I have here an egg. I'd hope to hatch it by covering it in hot sand by the hot springs, but that doesn't seem to be enough. I've heard it would be best if it were kept together with Pokemon and carried about. You're a trainer, yes? And your Pokemon radiate vitality. So what say you? Will you take this egg to hatch? Sure thing. Good, I hope you'll walk plenty with this here egg. So by talking to this lady gets you the one and only Pokemon that can be obtained in Lava Ridge Town. So this could potentially hatch into a good teammate, depending on what your preferences are with regards to your team composition. I will say right now it's not anything I'm interested in as a team member, but it may be beneficial for specific battles depending on how things go. But for now, you'll just want to keep it in your team. So the way eggs work is that they will hatch after you've taken a set number of steps. So as long as you just keep walking around and exploring areas, it will eventually hatch into a baby Pokemon at level 5. So that is definitely something to consider with this. And also we can visit this shop here, which gives us an herb shop. This is where we can buy some pretty decent items. We got energy powder, which is basically the same effect as a super potion, although it is much cheaper. We can also get energy root, which is the equivalent of a hyper potion for a much cheaper price. We can get heal powder, which is the equivalent of a full heal. And then we get revival herb, which is the equivalent of a max revive, an item that you can't even buy in shops in this game. So yeah, the items here are very good. The only downside is that medicine purchased at the herb shop is bitter, and Pokemon do not like those flavors. So your Pokemon's friendship will lower if they consume those items. So bear that in mind.
My wife's warming an egg in the hot springs. This is what she told me. She'll have 2 Pokemon with a daycare, and they discovered that egg.
So that gives you a hint on how to acquire eggs here in this particular game. Let's go talk to some of the locals. So this kid talking about Pokeblocks. And then... Yep, the more time you spend with a Pokemon on your team, the more its friendship will go up.
Hey kid, you can reach the hot springs from here. If Pokemon are getting rest, so too should their trainers.
There's a nice little thing we're able to do here.
We draw as much hot water as we need, yet the hot springs never run dry. Isn't it magical? These hot springs appear near active volcanoes. Veins of water under the ground are heated by magma to well up as hot springs.
So I've always wanted to go to a natural hot spring myself, so I feel like that would be so nice to get to experience. They're claiming these hot springs are good for calming nervous tension, relieving aching muscles, solving romantic problems, and attracting money. People put Pokemon in hot springs might be seriously strange. Why, it might be an electric bath, or a bubble bath, or even a lava bath. So you are able to find an ice heal inside the water there, but our inventory is currently full, so we can't get that. So managed to pick up a charcoal. So that is an item that boosts the damage of fire type attacks. So it's basically the equivalent of the Miracle Seed we got way back earlier in our journey. Just want to rearrange some of our items here. So we have all this good. So yeah, we'll probably want to store the charcoal for later, as I don't really see this being that useful to us. And we're also going to deposit the revive, because we don't need that either. And then we'll go pick up this ice heal. Even though ice heal really isn't that useful to us in this stage of the game, as we're very rarely going to encounter ice types in this adventure, let alone any Pokemon that use Ice-type moves, so yeah, it's really not that helpful to us. We'll put it in the box for later, but yeah, it's not anything we need to worry about. But what we should do is we are going to go to the store and purchase a couple burn heals, as those are going to be quite useful for the next gym we're going to. Which, in case you haven't noticed, is right here in Lava Ridge. Alright, so with that taken care of, we of course have a Pokemon Gym. Lava Ridge Town Pokemon Gym leader, Flannery. One with a fiery passion that burns. So we could challenge this gym right now. However, I feel like it would be best if we hold off until a little bit later. Just until I get the team a little bit higher level. So, yeah, we're going to end things off here today. Now that we have arrived in Lava Ridge Town, having beaten Archie, and managed to stop his plans for the time being. But yeah, this has definitely been an interesting session, and I'm really excited for what's going to be happening soon. So, in between sessions, we are going to be training up our Pokemon, and we'll also see if we can get this egg hatched, as that would be quite useful to us. Actually, before we end things off, I do want to check the PC, because we did get some more catches around this area. Alright, we got Granite and we got Igneous. So, Nummel will always be holding Rossberries. So if you want more of those, you can always use Thief in order to take them. Ooh, Rockhead on Geodude's not bad. So you got a Serious Nature, so that's neutral. And then we got Hardy Nature on Igneous. I think that's also a neutral nature. And you have Oblivious, which prevents attraction. Could be useful in a certain battle coming up, actually. But yeah, this is what we got for our encounter so far. Could be a good idea to train up a couple of these guys in preparation for what's to come. But yeah, this has definitely been a very fun session, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to be doing next time, because we got ourselves another gym to do, and then we're going to be unlocking some more areas for us to explore. So, until next time, thank you for joining me in this leg in our Pokemon Sapphire Nuzlocke run. Next time, we'll be taking on the Lava Ridge Gym, and then seeing what else we can see around the Hoenn region. Until next time, have a good day, and take care.